Hello, welcome to Podnas. This is a sports show with a Southern flair. I'm Daniel Hawks. That's Jared Roser. And today we are kicking off, I guess, what we're going to call season 2 of Podnas. We took a little break for the new year, but now we're back ready to go. Jared, how's life? Feels like I haven't seen you, but I've actually seen you. But, I haven't seen you in
Yeah.
this compartmentalization of us on two different sides of the screen.
Yeah, man. You say it's been a little break. It's been a pretty long break. Both Podnas and Recruit That Boot taking pretty extended holiday and start the new year breaks. It's obviously it's been kind of a roller coaster down here.
Do
You and
we
I,
do we just feel like it is because January always feels like 12 years? I feel like it feels like a much longer break because January just feels like a Lord of the Rings movie, an extended cut version of a Lord of the Rings movie.
yeah, I have I don't know if it was a tweet or a Facebook post or something years ago that did well that kind of pops back up every year. That was something about it's crazy to me that January is like 40 days every year, and then you realize it's still only the 10th, and then
Yeah,
2 months later it's finally February. And I mean, look, you and I talked about it previously when we were trying to record initially and get back into this flow. Obviously, this year started off in insane fashion, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a sec. And there's been so much that has happened, both sports world and otherwise. The latest for us is we've been dealing with some nippy weather and some snow, which I'm sure
yeah,
you know nothing about up in Chicago.
nope,
But it's I feel like the thing about January is, in addition to how long it seems like it drags every single year, is it seems like every year, in some fashion or another, we start with what feels like a Mad Libs of mixture of tragedy and insanity, and just like the headlines every year, something is popping off. And this year has been really bad in that regard, obviously, with the terror attacks to start the year on late New Year's Eve, early New Year's Day, and then the LA fires that were the headline grabbers for the bulk of this month. It's just been a lot before we even get into the
yeah,
sports stuff.
yeah. Going into a snowpocalypse into the Gulf Coast region, which I think Louisiana, or at least the pictures I saw, I think they've gotten more snow than we have gotten all year up here, which is
It
crazy. It's crazy to me.
it was the most snow that I could remember in terms of like true pure snow, not just icy weather, but
Right.
actual snow accumulating on the ground. Where there were places that were catching up to a foot in that single day, and I'm watching videos of friends dogs like pounce around trying to run out in the backyard, and just like smaller dogs getting lost with each
Yeah.
leap into
Yeah.
the snow. And so that was pretty crazy. And I told someone on the radio last week, the a for as little as we get snow, when you see Tiger Stadium with snow or New Orleans with snow, the pictures are beautiful. And then
Yeah.
to watch as infrequently as we get snow, the pictures of like my nieces or other friends' children experiencing it for the first time is a really cool experience, because they can be of a certain age where they can sort of understand what's happening, but still have never seen it actually occur. And so it's a little bit mind blowing and really cool.
Y'all have the wonderment with snow. You don't have to deal with like that snow sitting there for 5 months and accumulating all the dirt and grime, and you just get this ugly black snow that just makes by March, April, you just really don't care for snow at all. So at least it's that childlike sense of wonderment that you guys will get to have. So
I I
I
remember
sounded so Midwest there. I even said you guys. Shoot me now.
the the first, I guess the first time I visited Chicago, like a decade ago, I happened to be there for y'all's first snow of that winter, and my reaction out of y'all's apartment door compared to y'all's group around the living room, like, damn, here we go again. And
Yeah.
I'm just watching it. And you had work one night, and our buddy Matt Weed is looping me in with some of his friends. We're going to a comedy show, and he's talking about we're going to catch the Uber. And I'm at, well, wait, it's like a mile and a half. Like, I think, can we just walk? Would you hate me if we just walk in the snow for a mile? And humored me with it, and we did that. I don't know that he loved it, but that was me, a Southerner in the snow.
Hey, well, let's just go back because this whole thing brings back to this year of craziness that has already happened. So let's kind of get into it. Snow, snow was part of it, and that's some just weird stuff has kind of happened. We're gonna do a since you've been gone episode. I'm gonna try to get us back a little bit on track, but we'll go off the rails eventually again. I think that's what we do here. So let's kind of recap. Let's just go through. So terror attacks in New Orleans. What a weird, sad day. Um, uh, Followed by uh, Kyron Lacey had an arrest as well. LSU had some more transfer portal things. Saints still don't have a head coach. Jaden Daniels had this amazing playoff run. LSU women still can't beat South Carolina. The LSU men can't really beat anyone. Playoff pick them. It's all at our fingertips. Where do we want to start with this?
Yeah, I don't want to spend a ton of time rehashing New Year's Day, but I would feel remiss if we didn't talk a little bit more about how weird of a way that was to start January 1st. I wasn't out at all on New Year's Eve. I don't think I made it to midnight awake, honestly, or if I did, I barely did, and then was asleep and woke up, and so was kind of catching up in the middle of the morning as to what had happened, and then throughout the day, and then ultimately we find out. I think the numbers ended up being 15 victims that we lost and 36 more injured, and two of the young people that we lost were Tiger Besh, a former St. Thomas More wide receiver who went on to Princeton and had a great career up there in the Ivy League, a family that I know really well, more so from his younger brother Jack, who played at LSU and at TCU. But I mean, that news, and another young guy who I had a chance to cover a little bit, Kareem Badawi, a defensive lineman at Episcopal, who was now a freshman at the University of Alabama. So I had covered an Episcopal playoff game the previous year. Wasn't particularly familiar with Kareem, but he made some plays in that game against Martin Luther King Charter, and thought he had a nice night. And that was my only real familiarity with him. But I I struggle so much with young people that we lose, and it seems like it happens more and more in a wider range of ways than I ever would have expected to be dealing with as someone that deals with high school and college sports. And to have this happen this way in such a surreal way where it genuinely didn't feel real to try
No.
to get a handle on. I just have still struggled. I texted Tiger's family members, I mean, a week or so ago, that I have been such a loss for how to handle any of this from even my outside perspective, or know what to tell them. And I can't imagine them starting their year like this. But I mean, those two guys with some familiarity, um, it sucks so much that that's how this year started.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and then obviously the 15 people in total, and even the folks that had to go through that and survive it. I'm sure that's going to be an impact on them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I mean, a little love, a little empathy about what people are going through. It's a tough thing. I mean, you just say there's no real right way, wrong way to deal with it. You just got to take it as it comes. And I hope for all those families that are going through this that they can just remember that they are loved, they are supported, even in this massive tragedy that they are going through right now. So, um, moving on somberly as we move to kind of what the rest of what has happened in this January, because that was a very uh, startling way to kick off the year. And this year's kind of, I think, followed suit and, good and bad ways. Have a very exciting college football playoff run. After that, obviously the loss of human life and everything like that, football kind of does take a back seat, and it is a way to kind of just a reminder of that. People of New Orleans are so resilient. They've been through so much, and you know, uh, uh, it's just a hard, weird thing to even kind of move off and talk about. But let's try and get to a little bit of the sport in it. I guess the sporting news of what kind of happened after that. So we have Notre Dame ends up going to the national championship game. Brian Kelly got in a little bit of weird heat for saying that he was rooting for Notre Dame, and some people clapped back at him. I was so kind of caught up in everything else that was going on. I'm going to be honest. This just kind of went right over my head. But did you see any of that? Were you here? Were you? It just
Now,
kind of seemed like internet noise to me.
yeah, I didn't catch a whole lot of that. Even me trying to figure out if there was a preference on my side from more of a fan stake of Ohio State versus Notre Dame, I felt like the dynamics were going to be so weird for any connection to Brian Kelly. The fact that Notre Dame had even gotten to that point, and I mean, ultimately, for folks that don't follow me on Twitter or whatever, I landed with there were more Louisiana players on Notre Dame to Ohio State's roster. But shout out to some Louisiana natives on that Ohio State staff who end up winning the national championship. But the further Notre Dame went in the postseason, the more I realized there was no way we were escaping this playoff without weird Brian Kelly Notre Dame dynamics. And so
Yeah.
other than that, I mean, it was pretty much like the Twitter equivalent of in one ear out the other, like saw it in passing, blinked, and it was gone.
But I mean, let's get into that national championship game real quickly. I'm stupid. You're smart. I was wrong. You were right. You're the best. I'm the worst. You're very good looking. I'm not attractive. In the worlds of Happy Gilmore. You won the pick'em. You won the pick'em. You won the daily picks. You took a sweep. I'm Josh Allen and you're Patrick Mahomes. This is what it feels like.
That's what it felt like a lot of this football season with the week to week picks. And honestly, you said, did you went Happy Gilmore? So I'll retort with Billy Madison and just tell you everyone on this channel got dumber for having listened to your football takes all season, and you were awarded no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Whoa. Why are you coming out firing like that, man? I had a couple good fantasy calls. That's where I make my bread and butter. Okay. And by bread and butter, I mean, I don't make any money off of it. So, yes, but you crushed it. I mean, I think the lesson to take away here is when listening to our picks, go with what you're saying and then just take the opposite, whatever I say, and you'll be batting 1,000. Okay. So I'm gonna use this. You can use this to your advantage now. Like people listening or watching, whatever you're doing, just know that when I say something, usually the opposite happens. So
And I'm trying to lose some weight in 2025. That's one of my goals. And so I'm not going to say any of this is my bread and butter because I'm trying to be off of both of those pretty much. But I don't know if we say like my like quinoa and spinach or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think quinoa and spinach works. It's got a nice ring to it. A little QS.
Yeah, like peas and carrots.
Like peas and carrots. I mean, that was right there. Why don't we just go with that? That's fine.
I do not care for carrots very much.
What? They help with your eyesight, Jarrett. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you not know this? This is how this has gone so off the rails so quickly, so many times. We're back, baby. We're back. Yeah. Moving on. Jaden Daniels is an all-star. All right. Curse jar me. All right. And also that curse jar, we're gonna restart the curse jar, so we're back at $1. We made it up to $45 in the calendar year of 2024. So curse jar starting anew. I think we'll just send you that money. I think that'd probably be how it works. Jane Daniels is incredible, but
cover the hypothetical FCC fines that you garner us every week.
Yeah. Hey, you've had a couple. All right. It's not just me. It's mostly me, but it's not
unless Patrick Beverly comes up in the conversation, then it's mostly you.
I can pull up some. I'll pull up some highlights of his performance in the Chinese basketball league. But
this week's plays of the week, Pat Bev in China.
Oh, we're doing that next week. I will take the time to find some. As Shaq would say, ni hao. But Jane Daniels, incredible run. They just got eliminated by the Eagles. Eagles are just an all around. I think the best all around team right now. Saquon is just unbelievable, and it's really hard, especially with the way Jalen Carter was playing, and then the Commanders' best offensive lineman Sam Cosmi goes out. It kind of really screws up protections and schemes, and no matter what, a new guy coming in is just not as talented as that guy who's pretty much the leader on that line, and you could really kind of tell it disrupted a lot of what Washington wanted to do this past weekend for that, but does not take away from the incredible season that Jaden Daniels had. Most likely rookie offensive rookie of the year, unless there's just some other weird thing that goes down, but I don't think that'll be the case. Uh, Probably I would have put him on an MVP ballot or two. Probably not winning it, but I mean, what he kind of did this year and elevating that franchise and just how he looked, it was incredible to watch. It was fun to watch. It's one of those things they said on the call yesterday that even Dan Quinn will in the headsets tell his coaches, "Hey, this is fun to watch. Just soak it all in. Like, just take it as it comes." And it really was. That really is the case. Every time I watch that dude play, I can't wait. Hopefully there's no sophomore slump, but I can't wait to see what next year and the rest of his career holds.
I think the odds of Jaden not winning Rookie of the Year are. I think there are better odds of the Saints winning this Super Bowl in 2 weeks than Jaden losing this Rookie of the Year, because it's just so far gone for anybody. And there were some great rookie seasons. Brock Bowers, phenomenal. 2 of Jaden's receivers in Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, fantastic. But he has just been unreal. And I don't know. We're recording this on Monday afternoon. I don't know if this gets up today or tomorrow, whenever the hell it gets up. But on Monday morning, I posted a story on Three's Bengal Tiger that was just kind of recapping, okay, Jaden Daniels' season has now wrapped up. Let's look at where all the final numbers stand. And I think the case is incredibly strong for him to have had the best rookie season by a quarterback of all time when you look at where he ranks among rookie quarterbacks pretty much in every single category, in terms of his passing stats, rushing stats, total stats, the turnaround from a 4-win season to 14. Very few teams, period, in NFL history have had a 10-win jump in wins from one season to the next. And Jaden Daniels as a rookie quarterback was a huge piece of that in terms of his usage. I mean, start to finish of games, but in key moments on fourth downs and everything he was able to do. He didn't make the Super Bowl this year, but no rookie quarterback has ever led his team to a Super Bowl, and very few have made it to the conference finals or won 2 playoff games on the road. And so as much as the metaphors of I'm him or he's different, whatever, are so overused in sports today, Jaden Daniels is about as him and different of a rookie quarterback as you could possibly have hoped to have found. And sorry to you and the folks in Chicago who have Caleb Williams, who had a nice rookie season in his own right, but Jaden Daniels proved pretty time and time again he's that dude.
Back to what we were saying about Jaden Daniels. Yeah, it's an incredible rookie season. Honestly, this draft class, I think we'll look back on it and it could be something special because the amount of talent on both sides of the ball that have shown up over in the NFL this year, it is so unbelievable. Even Philly with the 2 rookie cornerbacks that they have that are a major part of that stellar defense. Another team or another group, that Philly defensive group had a major leap and major jump this year. And in particular, it's because of the way some of those rookies played. So Jaden Daniels leading that kind of charge of this being this electric kind of draft class. I think it's fun to see, and it's fun to see so many LSU players just shining. From Malik and Brian Thomas Jr. It's just great. As someone who went overboard in fantasy this year and just drafting LSU players, it worked out. It worked out very, very nicely for me. So, Saints.
Yeah. Hey, look, for all of the records that Jaden set as a rookie quarterback, and in some cases just a quarterback period, Malik Neighbors had more receptions than any rookie receiver in the history of the league. Brock Bowers actually ended up edging him this
Yep.
year for that number, but Malik with a franchise record there, and among wide receivers, a record. Brian Thomas with a couple of Jaguars rookie records as well. One of the better receiving seasons in the history of the Jaguars, and the best by a rookie ever. And then, we're talking about rookies, but also before we jump over to the next subject, Jamar Chase with a triple crown,
Yeah.
and deserves to be mentioned as we talk about LSU guys in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. But let's move on to something that wasn't great. The Saints season. It was rough. It was it's very weird rooting for the Saints right now. Because there doesn't seem to be any direction. And that, I think, is even more evident the fact that they are the only team that hasn't signed a head coach yet. Rumors, or what is swirling right now, is that Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, and Cliff Kingsbury are the three names that I've just been reading or hearing most. Do you have a preference on any one of those three head coach candidates? Because I don't. I'm going to be honest with you.
No, you talk about the apparent loss of direction and not knowing where the heck things are going. It feels like, in a lot of ways, almost like a reverse Goldilocks, where you want to commit one way or the other and can't, and so they end up finding this goofy medium that, in this case, is not ideal. Because we talked midway through the season, and we'll talk about it with the Pels too. It felt like, okay, let's make sure this draft stock is in order, and instead win a couple games, lessen your draft stock in terms of where you stand in the first round, and then end up with whatever the hell the pick ended up being, several spots lower than what it could have been. And now you go into the coaching search, and they're kind of sitting back and watching guys choose other jobs, or choose, it seems like in Joe Brady's case, he just wants to stay put in Buffalo and work with Josh Allen and see what better opportunities there could be for a role in subsequent off seasons. And when Mike McCarthy's name initially got tossed around, I went into any number of GIF modes of just no, please no type energy. And it's going to be tough for me to get excited about that. I have started to feel like that might be more and more likely.
I
And
think so. Yeah.
and talking to friends who are more tapped in and actually cover the league, they've kind of sold me on this idea of him bringing a sort of baseline level of professionalism and competency while the Saints figure out some of their other issues in the years to come. And I don't know that excites me as much as you want a new coaching hire to excite you, but it was made to make sense to me to kind of get by in a weird way in the years to come.
That's where that's where the Saints are right now. That feeling, what you just described, is perfectly personifies what I think a logical Saints fan reaction should be. It's not great, but it is. Mike McCarthy is a good NFL head coach. I don't know if he's a great NFL head coach, but he will. Do you know how much of a just circus the Dallas Cowboys that you have to be to run that? They literally don't know how to put up curtains in their dome, and it blinds their players so they can't catch. They have people watch their players like it's a zoo. You can go and take tours. You know how hard it is to be not only a coach in that, but also one that, for the most part, was a winning head coach. Besides this year, really every year they got to the playoffs, and that's better than what we can say from the Saints franchise. It's been very up and down, a lot of 8-8 seasons, a lot of just missing out on the playoffs because they didn't take care of business. So if that could happen and bring that kind of back, then yeah, there's some stuff to get excited about, but it's not I'm not like through the moon, like, if Ben Johnson would have become the head coach, but that was never an option. Because if I'm Ben Johnson, well, I'm going to go someplace that doesn't have a quarterback. So, in which he did, with a chance to work with Caleb Williams up in Chicago. Like, it's an easy sell for someone. Same thing with Jacksonville, but then they went and fired their GM after they had already had two head coaches fall off the board. Just very weird cycle in the NFL right now.
I like how you mix matched this through the roof and over the moon into just through the moon, one mixed metaphor.
I was hoping you didn't catch that, but I knew you would have. So
and I agree. It's similar in some ways too, and obviously this we'll talk about it. This season with the Pels has been.
I was going to say, let's just
has
mash
been
them
insane.
Let's mash all the Benson properties together. We can just talk about them all in one stroke.
I looked at some of the ups and downs, or underwhelming dynamics of DeJounte in Atlanta, and felt like it was not a good fit for him, and that I had confidence in what he could be in a change of scenery in New Orleans. To come be a veteran leader for this Pelicans team. And obviously a lot has gone wrong for the Pels this season, but I still largely believe in that ability for DeJounte to be a key piece of a better Pelicans team moving forward. And so I think there's something to be said for the situation in Dallas being at many turns more of a reality show than a professional football organization, because that's the way Jerry Jones runs it, is a little bit of it. You said circus. There's just too much going on. Jerry's voice is too loud and front and center and in the middle of everything, and kind of off the rails in and of itself at a lot of points. And so you have to give Mike McCarthy, who has had a lot of success everywhere he's been, some benefit of the doubt there. There are certainly moments within game management late in games that have been head scratchers that I don't think are Jerry Jones's doing, but those kind of stick with me. At the end of the day, it's not going to be a hire that many people are thrilled about if that ends up being the way it goes. And honestly, of the names you mentioned, I think Cliff Kingsbury would probably be the one that excites the most people. But there were ups and downs for him in a head coaching role just a year ago.
Too. He took that year off to go to Thailand for a bit and whatever he was doing out there. So, it'll be interesting to see it play out. I think for both the Saints and the Pelicans, this what's next kind of thing. Because with the Pelicans, you got to talk about. So they're on a 3-game winning streak. I think begrudgingly, I say that. CJ McCollum just is putting up 40 pointers like it's his job apparently. Go ahead.
I've never seen a 50-point game by a player unfold that I was more frustrated with, even if the 50-point game was for an opponent, because it was so impressive. And usually when it's for an opponent, even I can take some stock in, man, look at this dude cook. But I was already in such a frustration mode of the games the Pels were winning, because I have gone into this mode where the way you normally talk about teams, man, I can't believe they let this win get away from them. That's how I felt about Pels losses, because I've been in tank mode since mid-November.
Yeah.
And instead of right now, rivaling the Wizards for the worst record in the league, they've messed around and won some games to where now they're back in that third or fourth best draft odds type setting. They let the Jazz, pull ahead of them in the race to the bottom in the West. And so, yeah, CJ needs to chill, man.
Well, he's trying to get traded, bro. I think half the team is trying to get traded, to be honest. But he is kind of the most valuable piece with the uncertainty of Zion's health. I think Zion, I honestly do, and just from watching them play, no obviously insider knowledge at all, but it does kind of look like these dudes are playing or balling out right now for other teams. This is with the trade deadline coming up. We got less than a month, I think, until that comes through. Like, I would expect the Pelicans to be very active on that leading up to that day, because they are one of the teams that has assets. And with how the season has gone, I think they really should be realistically looking at how do we offload these assets, free up some space so that we can actually try to make a a tanking run for these next two drafts. The next two drafts are really, really good. And it doesn't seem like Zion really wants to be in New Orleans anymore. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just saying what it looks like on the court. He'll show flashes, but I think it might just be time to part ways. CJ is just an older player, so that just makes sense. BI needs to stay on the floor and actually produce before I think any trade is going to want to trade for him and what that contract is with him. And then you're left with DeJounte, and Yves Missi has been like the lone bright spot. It's been so great, but I feel like that's more of a he's had a trial by fire type thing. He's had to step up and learn the NBA game a lot more quickly because the Pels' depth in their front court is just non-existent.
The trade deadline is a week and a half from when we record this, February 6th.
So, like I said, under a month.
Yeah, right before the Super Bowl and everything. And I think what's tough is a lot of the guys you just mentioned have really high potentials. Zion Williamson, chief among them. But if you sell right now on guys like him and BI and so forth, you're not selling high, which is the name of the game with asset management. And so what is your return, and how much lower of a return on the investment and the potential that you have with those guys are you taking at this point? And
well,
then
I think the return is with Zion is if you get someone on a year contract back, so you're out of that massive contract that he has. That I mean, that's again, it's they're both bleak situations to look at in the New Orleans professional sports. It is. Sorry to cut you off.
No, I just, you see, and this has been I don't want to call it fool's gold because I think there's a lot of reality to it, but we've seen these flashes of Zion Williamson throughout the last couple of years where you see what he can be if it can all be put together and sustainable for a season. But obviously on the flip side of that coin is you see to this point the inability to have that level of consistency and sustainability. And so the thing that the Pelicans have really struggled with for the last several years is they don't want to be the team that gave up on Zion Williamson too early and shipped him off for less than he was worth and then watch him reach that potential elsewhere if they feel like there's still something to salvage to be able to get him to reach that level. And I wonder how quickly are you willing to cut bait on that versus how long are you willing to continue to sit through not seeing the full return on that investment?
Yeah. It's rough. It's a rough day. Since we've been gone, we've been sad. That's what the name of this episode is going to be called. Moving on though, LSU women having a great season, still cannot get over the South Carolina hump. It just feels like
Oh man, I was about to
everything.
say, hey, the bright spot, and then I was South Carolina last week,
Yeah,
so
yeah. So
we picked the right time for the theme of this episode.
Yeah. LSU men are struggling along in the SEC play, but the SEC is the best. SEC is the best conference in men's basketball this year, bar none. They've kind of taken the crown from the ACC in the last couple of years, and I mean, it's really, we are looking before the show. They have 10 of the top 25 teams are SEC teams, and then I believe 4 of those in the top 10. 5 of those in the top 10. So half of the top 10 is SEC teams. It's actually ridiculous. It's a really tough conference to play. But that being said, the men did have I feel like a lot of this is about finishing. They had a really competitive game versus the number 4 team in the country, Alabama, but Alabama takes it out at the end. It just feel like their players kind of just, were ready for that moment and ready to kind of put the game away when it needed to get put away.
They've had a few games like that you like what you see in spurts and you like the fight, and then it just can't quite be closed out. And unfortunately, as tough as some of the matchups have been to this point for LSU, I don't want to jump all the way ahead, but the last 5 games of the regular season are against top 15
Yeah.
nationally ranked SEC teams. And so it
And
doesn't get any easier really
no,
at any point.
no, including number one team in the country coming into Baton Rouge in 2 days' time. With this on the 27th, Auburn will be in town on the 29th. Bruce Pearl, that's a very good defensive team. I don't know about their offense. I watched that Auburn Tennessee game this past weekend, and both those teams, it was kind of a defensive struggle. They were both shooting very poorly, but that defense for Auburn is nasty. That kid Broom can spot the ball. If you're going up to the rack, he better not be within 2 arms length because he will block it. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I don't even know where to go. Where do we even go with this? Or do we just saying, hey, they're doing all right?
Well, we can't, like we talk about the New Orleans teams, we can't talk about a college team tanking. It doesn't work quite the same way.
I know.
So there's not really a light at the end of the bottom of the conference tunnel for college teams. Trust the process though.
Trust the process. We got you, Mike. What's the coach's name? Mike McMahon? Is that
Yeah.
McManaman? McMahon?
McMahon.
McManaman? Oh man. Oh,
Hey,
McManaman.
Trade as Green is in the basketball mix now. Had a nice block turn dunk
Okay.
the other night, and so that's another bright spot. We're looking at
I
bright
saw
spots
that.
on the basketball
Yes.
court.
Hey, but that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep you updated on the bright spots because there will be several coming up. Moving into 2025, we're gonna be here at PODnas to kind of just go through the year with you. This year in sports, we're going to do it all. Really excited about the NBA trade deadline. I think we should do something for that coming up. We should maybe make a little game. Super Bowl. What's your prediction? Eagles, Chiefs. Let's talk about it.
I'm just not betting against the Chiefs right now.
I know you can't. It'd be so stupid.
Their way to find a way regardless. I think Philadelphia has looked like the stronger team the bulk of this season, but Mahomes and the Chiefs just find a way. Whatever it was 4th and 9 late that they converted to keep the clock moving and end up running out that clock. I was thinking about, I think in situations where the Chiefs need a play, it can be anything from, 4th and 1 to 4th and 15. You just feel like Andy Reid and those guys and Pat Mahomes, that they're going to find a way to get just enough of whatever they need at the key moments of games to where it may be ugly almost start to finish, but they find that way in the spots necessary to just scrape it out.
Oh, spots is a bad use of the word.
Oh, because of the first. And so we'll see.
That's a rough hit for Bills fans already.
And additionally on the Bills front, you mentioned that first down call situation. The calls, as NFL fans have noticed throughout the season, have largely favored the Chiefs. It's felt like in some key moments of games, and that, part of that comes with the territory, particularly playing at home in some of these big games to this point. But there's a level of human element for officials too when they watch what the Chiefs do, where sometimes you get a little bit more and maybe a little bit too much of the benefit of the doubt in some moments. And then you saw with everything that happened, the Bills still with a chance. If they could have had the Dalton Kincaid catch late, that kind of changes the complexion of that game late, obviously. And not the easiest catch, but a catch that Kincaid probably makes more often than not. And you can't miss any opportunities if you're an opponent going against Kansas City right now. You have to cash in on just about everything to be able to try and pull one out. And so that's kind of what's on the, the shoulders of the Eagles right now. And that's a team that similarly has looked ugly at times and found a way to win games. Saquon Barkley has been phenomenal though all season long. And so it'll be fun to watch him in this stage. I'm trying to set it up to go watch with our buddy Tyler Batiste, the one-time PODnas co-host when you were sick that one time. He's obviously a big Eagles fan, and I think I gave shit about it on that episode. But is that a comment? It's a curse. Okay.
Yeah, you said. What do you? What do you think?
I think I gave him heck about it that on that episode, and I honestly I would enjoy, as much as I love Saquon and I love Devontae Smith and other members of that Eagles team. I think it would be cool to watch the Chiefs become the first team to win 3 straight Super Bowls, and I think there's reason to believe that they can pull that out. And I'm just interested to see if Tyler is going to let me sit next to him through what is going to be a very emotional 4 quarters for him to watch, where I just want to watch football, and I'm probably going to be more pleased if it goes poorly for him than otherwise.
Yeah, I would not like the Chiefs to win. I don't want to see that, but it's also, if that does happen, I'm going to recognize that this is history and something that may not ever run like this again. It's like watching Jordan in the 90s. I know that's comparison's been all over out there. It's the like low hanging fruit that people are making with this, but it is so accurate. That
100%.
this is so hard. I mean, you see it every time a team loses a Super Bowl. They don't make the playoffs the next year. It is so insanely hard to get where the Chiefs have gotten. Patrick Mahomes now, I think 7 7 times he's been in the Super Bowl, or at least the conference championships. Of his 7 years, I think 6 of them he's either been in the conference championship or the Super Bowl. It's ridiculous. It's amazing to see. But that being said, I would like them to lose, and I would like to hear Kendrick play TV off and live in person go mustard. That's what I want. Those are all the things I want. So
I was thinking about this yesterday, essentially which 90s NBA star do you equate Josh Allen to? And then I turned on Get Up this morning and heard Greeny make essentially he threw out Patrick Ewing, Karl Malone, and Charles Barkley's names all. And I think Patrick Ewing, not just because of the the New York dynamic, but I think Patrick Ewing and the 90s Knicks are very similar right now to the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen at the moment. But I'm going to tease this to you and not actually release the full extent of this. But part of the reason why I don't want the Eagles to win, as much as I love certain members of that team, I hate a certain member of that team in a Pat Bev levels way that I just cannot root for. And look, love some of the members of that team, love Tyler Batiste, hate this player and all of his nonsense so much that I can't bring myself to wish him a championship right now. So
listen,
look,
AJ Brown just likes to read, bro.
No,
okay.
No. I support AJ Brown. I support, reading is fundamental, going back to our old childhood NBA commercials. Shout out to raising awareness for reading actual physical media in 2025 or 20. Yeah, it was 2025 already. He was doing that.
Yeah.
But if they get rid of this one other player, then I'll wish them all the luck in the world next year.
I'll let hopefully the comment section goes off on who you're talking about. If you've made it this far, we really, really thank you. I think that is a good enough recap. We kind of did a lot in this last 40 minutes or so. Do you have anything else for the people before we get out of here?
No, man, I know it's been a lot. It's just been good to get back into the flow, and we'll obviously be back.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Likewise, we'll get back to more weekly, if not twice a weekly cadence, where we're not trying to fly through so much all at once, moving forward into the year, but looking forward to 2025 on PODnas.
Yeah, and the blender's coming back, y'all. I know everyone's been asking about it. It's been all over the interwebs. People, when is the blender coming back? We want the blender. Don't worry, it's coming. All right. It's going to be so much fun. But also, you can get a lot of great recruiting Louisiana sports, just material on Louisiana versus all y'all. Go check out the YouTube page, which you're on now if you're watching this. Also on Twitter, Louisiana versus all y'all. And you can find us on Instagram, PODnas_LA. We're going to put up some new content there. We do polls. We do plays of the week. We do shenanigans from stuff that doesn't make the show. There's a bunch in there. So we're going to get a lot more content coming up for y'all in 2025. We're happy to be back. PODnas.
And it's a ticket talking margin for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma.